Kardec Radio presents Training for Death by Humberto de Campos through the medium Chico Xavier.
Worried about survival beyond the grave, you ask, amazed, how the training for death should be carried out to avoid surprises after death. The question is curious and really gives food for thought. Believe, however, that for now, it is not very easy to technically prepare a companion for the infallible pilgrimage. Tourists come from Asia or Europe, efficiently enabling future travelers, since they do not lack the necessary terms for proper analogy. But we, the discarnate individuals, bump into almost insurmountable obstacles. Strictly speaking, religion should guide the achievements of the spirit, as well as science directs all issues pertinent to material life. However, religion remains somewhat attached to the superficiality of the priesthood by touching the deep recesses of the soul. It is important to consider that your query was directed to me, a poor journalist without merits to address such an inquiry, instead of being directed to the great theologians of the earth who are today domiciled in spirituality. Though you have been here for almost 20 years, I still feel in awe like an indigenous person, suddenly brought from the jungle to some of our universities with the obligation to suddenly join the highest studies and the most complicated subjects. For this reason, I can only count on my own point of view on the deficiencies of a primitive individual who was caught near the core of civilization. Preliminarily, I admit that I should refer to our old bad habits. Their crystallization is here a tyrannizing plague. Start the renewal of your habits at each meal. Gradually decrease the lust to eat the flesh of animals. The cemetery in the belly is a torment in the great transition. Pork loin or veal fillet, seasoned with salt and pepper, do not place us far from our ancestors, the cannibal primitive ones. Widely ingested drinks are another dangerous obsession. I have seen many souls of apparently exquisite backgrounds willing to trade heaven itself for the aristocratic whiskey of our Brazilian cachaca. As much as possible, avoid the abuse of tobacco. The condition of discarnated nicotine lovers is pitiful. Do not give in to the temptation of narcotics. No matter how distressing crises seem to be while in the body, stay strong when facing the blows of struggles. Victims of cocaine, morphine, and barbiturates linger a long time in the dark cell of thirst and inertia. What about sex? Carefully preserve your emotional balance. We here have any good people carrying living hell labeled love. If you have some money or hold any earthly possessions, do not postpone donations if you are inclined to do them. Great individuals, whom we admire in the world for their skill and power with which they materialized important business, appear here in many instances near us like desperate children, for they do not manage their checkbooks any longer. Within your family, be careful regarding your living will. Fatal diseases may assault anyone, and if your paperwork is not in order, you will suffer much humiliation in the courts and notaries. Above all, do not cling too much to your blood ties. Love your wife, love your children, and love the relatives in moderation, certain that one day you will be apart, and thus they will almost always act contrary to your will, although they may respect your memory. Do not forget that in the present state of terrestrial education, if some loved ones register your extraterrestrial presence after the funeral, certainly they will demand that you descend to hell, since they are afraid of your inopportune return. If you already have the treasure of a religious faith, live according to the precepts you embrace. What a terrible moral responsibility it is to know the path without balancing oneself within it. Do the best you can, without worrying about pleasing everyone. Convince yourself that if you do not feel sympathy for certain individuals, there are people who hardly tolerate you. Therefore, keep your noble smile in all circumstances. Work always, work incessantly. Service is the best solvent for our grievances. Help yourself through the loyal fulfillment of your duties. Regarding everything else, do not give up or inquire too much, because sooner or later, death will offer you its business card, exposing you to everything that I cannot tell you now.